we finished lesson 1. Unit 5, Healthcare Lesson 2 is where we talk about where you write a sick leave request letter. How do we do that? It's not like calling in sick. We're going to write a request letter. Now, everyone has to miss work from time to time, sometimes for illness, an appointment, or some other personal reason. Some employers ask employees for a formal letter explaining when and why they missed work. Sometimes employers want employees to write these letters before an absence, and sometimes they are written afterwards. Employees often also have to write excuse letters for longer leaves of absence or other extended time periods when they need to be off. Formal excuse letters are used in other situations too, such as an absence for jury service, where you have to attend a court on a legal duty, or if you're still a student, an absence from school. So, listen to the tips that I'm going to go through now on writing a formal excuse letter. And in the text later on, I'll give you a couple of sample letters and even a template to fill in if you ever need it. Let's look at the tips. Remember to follow a standard business letter format. Use the official business letter format when you're writing your letter. You want this letter to be professional. Understand your employer's policies. Before you plan to miss work for any reason, make sure you know the policy for letting your boss know that you will be absent in the future. Know whether you need to tell the boss and how you should get him or her that information. Will a phone call suffice? Do we need a letter? Is an email okay? Make sure you know. Also, you might want to look how far in advance you need to tell your employer. The day before might not be enough time. Sometimes you have to give a week's notice if you're planning leave. So once you've decided the day you're going to be off, send the letter as soon as possible. Send your excuse letter before you miss work in all circumstances. You want to give your employer time to reassign any of your tasks or duties that may be critical. If you're asking for a long period of absence, then send this letter a week or even 2 weeks before. If you don't have time to send a formal letter, then consider sending an excuse email instead. But as I said earlier, keep it brief. Don't go into great detail about why you're missing work. You don't want a long list of your symptoms when you're on your sickbed. Just say, I'm suffering from a cold or flu or a fever. You don't need to go into details. Instead, simply briefly state the day or days when you're going to be absent and explain why. You might want to consider offering to help. You do this to make up for your absence in some way. For example, you might say in your email that during your absence you're going to be away for a day, but you're quite happy to come in for extra hours next week or Saturday morning to catch up with any work you've missed. If you can prepare your absence in advance, ask one or two of your colleagues or employees for help completing any assignments you might be missing. This is particularly important when you're asking for a longer leave of absence. Lastly, take a look at the excuse letters examples that I've included in the text and also the one that is a template. I suggest that you print it off and fill in your own name and think up an excuse as an exercise. And then in class with your other students, compare these notes and decide which one you think is the best. Good luck. See you later. Okay, welcome back. Let's consider now what to do if you need medical care while visiting the United States. It's not the same as Taiwan. Everything is different and everything costs money. Be prepared for some expensive visits if you are not correctly insured. Unexpected or unexpected medical situations can arise anytime, even during a relaxing holiday. For this reason, it's important to understand what to do if something happens while you're abroad. The United States in particular has a medical care system that is very different from what visitors from other countries are accustomed to. What is absolutely critical to understand is that after you apply for your USA ESTA, and that stands for Electronic System for Travel Authorization, you should also apply for healthcare insurance to cover you while you're in the United States. Not having insurance can end up costing you thousands of dollars. Okay, we've got 10 points for you. Number 1, the medical care system in the United States is mostly or predominantly private. This means, with just a few exceptions, all people, including Americans, must have private health insurance to cover their medical treatment. When you purchase international health insurance, you are purchasing a private health insurance program that will cover you in the United States. Second point, your national health insurance card in Taiwan is not valid in the US. Please remember that their system in the US is completely different to your country's health insurance card and is not valid there. Be prepared. The third point to consider is that medical care in the United States is very expensive. Simple procedures such as an X-ray or a sprained ankle or an electrocardiogram that in our home country can cost just a few $100s can cost thousands of dollars in the United States. Make sure your medical coverage is high enough to cover the cost of a medical emergency. Okay, point number 4. You could have to pay up front. Having insurance might not forego the need to pay the bill first and claim after. So, depending on the hospital or medical center you visit, they could potentially require you to pay for the treatment up front, seeking reimbursement from your health insurance company. Make sure your credit card has a high enough limit in case you have to pay high upfront charges. Point number 5. In case of an emergency, dial 911. But also remember that the cost of the ambulance will be charged to you and to your insurance company, and this can be very expensive. Point number 6. There will be very many forms to fill out. Visiting a healthcare facility in the United States requires a lot of patience, as you'll have to fill out what seems like an endless number of forms. This is due to the complex American legal system, where doctors and medical establishments want to ensure they are not sued in the courts. Point number 7. Doctors are usually quick and to the point. Prior to your doctor seeing you, you'll be seen by nurses or doctor's assistants who will do all the procedures your doctor back home normally does, such as taking your blood pressure, heart rate, etc. The doctor will finally see you, and you will usually make a quick diagnosis based on the evidence he's handed, and then expect him to be on his way very quickly. Number 8, waiting times in the emergency room, ER, can be very long. Depending on the medical facility and the location, waiting times in the ER can take several hours. Many of these facilities are very busy with patients, and if you do not have a life or death situation, they're going to make you wait. Point number 9. If you don't have medical insurance, the bill is going to be sent to your home country address. In the worst case scenario, where you do not have the travel insurance and you don't have the financial means to pay for the medical care you've already received, your contact information will be taken and the bill will be sent to your home address. Please note that paying this bill is extremely important, as not paying it can cause problems for you in visiting the United States later on. Even if you cannot pay the whole bill up front, you'll be able to establish a payment plan of some sort to the medical establishment. To close, it's important to note that the medical care in the United States is generally superb. And if you do find yourself requiring emergency or other medical care, you can often be most certain that you'll be treated professionally and with great care. The government in the United States has been making reforms to the healthcare sector to try to reduce some of the very high prices charged for routine procedures. But this is not applied to you, as because you're a visitor, you will be charged the ordinary rates. Do remember that after applying online for your ESTA, you should immediately apply for the travel health insurance policy that will properly cover you while you're in the United States. Happy travels!